I'll tell you, so I was at a gig recently and I was having a really bad day and I was outside by myself smoking a cigarette by a bin and this person came up to talk to me. Now, I'd met this person a couple of times at parties, but didn't really know them particularly well, and they wanted to have a chat with me about the patriarchy. And not in a sort of, hello, good evening, would you like to have a reasonable discussion about the patriarchy? Not that format, no. Did you know you and everyone like you is an absolutely gold-plated scumbag? That format. So I made a joke. And they got very cross. And they looked at me and said, are you joking about the patriarchy? And I said, yes. I was attempting to diffuse this inexplicable social tension you've just built up. And they went, you need to understand that there are things that you cannot joke about. And I said, well, I don't believe that's true, but in any way. And by this stage, a second person had arrived in the conversation, and they also wanted to discuss the patriarchy in much the same format. And they got wind of the idea that I just told a joke about that subject, and they joined in, and the pair of them were going, you need to understand that there are things that you cannot joke about. And I said, well, I don't hold that to be true, but in any case, look, I've had a really bad day, and I don't want to discuss this. And at which point, person number two turned right round into my face and went, oh, I'm sorry, does the man have it hard? Now, under normal circumstances, absolutely not, no. I live a very disgustingly privileged and charmed life. I was raised by very loving and supportive parents who worked very hard to give me and my sister opportunities that they never had. I own my own home, I'm married to a woman I love, and I pay my mortgage telling jokes. In the privileged states, it is disgusting, it's right up there. But it's just unfortunate, on that day, at 3 o'clock that morning, we'd lost the baby. So I was actually feeling a little bit hard done by at that point. Now, I must apologise to you here. I tried in the previews of the show, I tried to various different ways to introduce that idea into the show in a way that could be more gentle, and unfortunately there isn't one, so it just sort of hijacks the show here in the way that it hijacked the writing of the show, so my apologies for that. So I went inside, and a friend of mine said he knew what had happened, and he said, well, you should go out and tell them, you should tell them what's happened. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. And he said, you really should. And I said, no, because it's none of their fucking business, and personally, I don't think you should have to play victim top trumps to have people treat you like a human being. So I wasn't interested. Now, there are a number of things in that conversation that were said that I don't want to talk to you about because I'm not really qualified to talk to you about them. But there was one thing that was said in that conversation that I do know a little bit about, that I do want to talk to you about here this evening. It was the bit where they said, you need to understand that there are things that you cannot joke about. Now, I have long held that to be absolute bollocks, but that morning I knew in my heart that was absolute horseshit, because I woke up at 3 o'clock that morning to find the woman I love most in the world sitting on the end of the bed crying because she'd lost the thing that she wanted most in the world. And the only thing I knew to do in that situation was to try and make her laugh. Now, I have played some tough gigs. But that is a doozy. If you ever find yourself playing a gig like that, you gotta go hard, you gotta go fast, you gotta go dark, you gotta go dirty. And I did, and she laughed, and she came back at me, hard, fast, dark, dirty, and I laughed. And in that fucking moment of darkness in that little pit, just having a little laugh together got us out of that pit. So don't go around telling people there are things you can't joke about, because you might just find at a point in your life you just fucking have to. Now, so the next day I said to her, look, why don't you take some time off work? I've got a gig. I've got a gig tonight. It's about a 3.5 hour drive up the country. It's in a seaside town. So I'll clear the diary when we go up there in the car. We'll have a couple of weeks. We'll have some time off. We'll get over it. And she said, great. So we drove 3.5 hours to the gig all day. Got there, wrong gig. It was the wrong gig. And we laughed. Oh, fuck me, did we laugh? And while we were laughing, we got a parking ticket. Now, if you can say that getting a parking ticket is the best thing that happened to you on any particular day, it's been a shit day. So that's what we did. We were up there and we got over it, spent a couple of weeks, and I put the show down and didn't gig for a bit, and Sarah took some time off work, and we got over it, and we're just getting back to things. Oh, yeah, actually, while we were on that drive, On that drive to that gig, Sarah got an amazing text message. I'll share it with you, it was great. It said, how likely would you be to recommend A&E to friends and family? Well, I don't know. I don't really understand the question. What, you mean, like, as a night out? As a night out, it's not as good as, say, Wagamama. But I know, like, if you're 10 weeks pregnant, you start bleeding heavily out of your vagina, for the love of God, don't go to Wagamama. I mean, it's there are certain situations where it's literally the only place to be. I don't any more recommendation than that.